Continue in the task until all your ammunition is expended. If your hands are broken, fight with your feet. If your hands and feet are broken, fight with your teeth. If there is no breath left in your body, fight with your spirit. Lack of weapons is no excuse for defeat.
Fight for your country, they said.
Go be a hero, they said.
I mean, now think back. What a load of bollocks!
Yeah!
We just wanted the glory. And by glory, I mean women. My dad told me when he came back from the First Great War, the women were hanging all over him. Couldn't wait to back themselves a soldier.
He was the one that came up with the bright idea. I was sat, minding my own, when Twinkletoes comes over to me and he says, Dad, I got an idea. So him, not being the sort to come up with ideas, I leaned in to give him the courtesy of my audience. He said, about this war, if we go and make it back, the women won't be able to keep their hands off.
There's nothing the women love more than a war hero.
When someone puts it to you like that, it makes a hell of a difference. None of that Queen and country shite.
So we went down to the enrolment office and signed our names, easy peasy,
no bother.
They put us through training, which consisted of how to put one foot in front of the other and how to point a gun. We worked in the rain, we worked in the mud. We worked in the 3D old piss and putrid perspiration of those who came before.
Training complete. They said, we're sending you off to Burma. I thought that was somewhere in North Belgium. It wasn't until I caught sight of the yellow-faced little Mongols that I realised we were somewhere a bit further away from home.
You should have heard our mum wept and bellowed when she heard we was going to war. I'd hate to hear her wailing now if she knew where we really ended up.
When we got here, we thought it would be easy. We've been told that
the little yellow bastards won't give you chaps too much trouble, they're only little russ.
Run around the jungle, stamp some japs. Payment time, tea and biscuits.
Now, for those of us similarly educated to ourselves, Burma is in the east, connected to Thailand and China.
Apparently the Japs had cut off some sort of supply line to the whole of China, and for some reason that was our problem.
It rained every day. Imagine that. We go to the fucking jungle and it rains. Being soaked up with jungle life, it was often so wet night and day that our whole bodies became white and wrinkled like an old washerwoman's hands.
And when it wasn't raining,
it was so hot your ballsack come to the side of your thigh like a limpet clinging to a rock face in a vicious storm. Humid. Fucking pain in the arse.
Speaking of which, it either dripped with the foulest smelling sweat or was rubbed red raw by the sanding blocks they called trousers,
which chafed and scratched on someone's fair and supple cheeks.
Being on watch was horrific. It was never quiet, never peaceful. I mean, how are we supposed to listen out for the sneaky murdering bastards over the screeching and wailing of our fellow men, crying for their mothers like abandoned children?
They were relentless. Wave upon wave of nocturnal, seemingly unstoppable killing machines. I don't think they feared death. Or at least, they feared it less than remaining alive. For them it wasn't about glory. I mean, how can there be glory when you look exactly like the slanty-eyed git stood next to you?
See, they were more scared of their so-called officers than they were of us.
Die by British hands, or die by your own.
We tried to be fair. We tried to take the defeated as our prisoners, but by the time we reached them, they'd swallowed the barrel, blown their brains all over the nearby trees.
And if they were out of bullets, they whipped out their shanks sharpish like and disemboweled themselves in front of your very eyes.
Patrols were a daily thing. The aim wasn't so much of finding the people as finding the bits of people.
Oi, Des.
What?
Do you think that's Joe's arms or Dave's?
How the fuck am I supposed to know? Check and see if he has a wedding ring.
Yeah, he does. Must be Joe. Pick it up then.
Ugh. I'm not fucking touching that, it's your find.
The rotting flesh stung my nostrils. Filthy. The poor bugger's been out here for days.
Occasionally we'd stumble across one of theirs, clinging on to life. They lay there in the mud, gaunt, almost naked, stinking, a weak stubble on their jowls.
They just lay there and glared at us with eyes like glass alleys. After respecting their awesome invincibility for so long, looking down on our prisoners with their trembling shanks, My hatred turned to compassion.
Do it then, do it!
I can't, Des!
Get out of the way, you poof!
I entered his torso with my bayonet and sliced from bollock to brain. He didn't bother any fancy ceremony. One, two, three! We just left him there alone in an unmarked grave. I sometimes wonder if anyone missed him. If anyone even realised he was gone. Or was he just left? Nothing more than a grim story for us to retell to the lads back at camp.
With Joe gone though, his stuff was up for grabs. The rules were you could take what you liked as long as it wasn't too personal.
We brought it back so we get first dibs. Rubbish. Tat. Shit.
Hold on, what about this? To my darling.
No, that's personal. But these... Check out the jugs on her. Fucking hell, lucky shy. Wonder what the noise was I kept hearing coming from Joe's tent. Right, I'm gonna get some kip. You right and watch?
Yeah, I'll just look after these.
What was that? Des, you still keeping watch?
Yeah, of course I am.
Then what the fuck are they doing?
Somehow those bastards had got in. Dwarf-like figures under their medieval helmets, many with glasses and gold teeth, which made them look like creatures from another world.
Because the sights held so much uncanny terror, for a moment I experienced the shock of total panic. I almost believed that these figures were more than human, who would advance unhurt, who would come on and on until they were with us at the camp. And then they were not there anymore.
Where have they gone? They were just there a second ago!
Wake up, lads! There we are! Move down, you slimy cunts!
We couldn't fire a break, our bullets would find Japanese brain.
Our rifles lit up the jungle, flashing illuminated faces in the darkness.
I'm out of bullets then, they've got me!
Just remember your bloody training! Continue the task till all your ammunition is expended. If you're aiming to broken fight with your feet. If you're aiming to defeat a broken fight with your teeth. If there is no breath left in your body, fight with your spirit. Lack of weapons is no excuse for defeat. We surrender!
I remember the day. It was announced. We were at war. I mean, finally. We'd known for months. But when the announcement came... It was like a kick in the teeth, really. Remembering the devastation of the Great War. It's difficult to be patriotic when you think of that. Old Churchy going on like he did. Rallying for support. You've got to admit, when you listen to it first time... Why should the lads get all the glory? So, we signed up for nursing duty in France. We never met before. We were both from the north. Aye, northerners. That's what drew us together the first time. It sounded nice on the posters. Doing our bit for the war effort in a sunny country abroad. And I'd heard a lot about them Frenchmen, which wasn't a bad thing. I was only 16 at the time. But my 3 brothers were serving and I wanted to be a part of it. And nursing sounded better than knitting jumpers and serving tea to the old days at the Salvation Army. It was against the rules, but I thought, it can't be that bad. And neither of us were nursing back home, so we couldn't have imagined the disgusting, dirty work we'd have to do. Bloody hideous. It was exciting at first when the injuries weren't bad. Just gunshot wounds, a few missing fingers and upset bellies. Whizzing out of both ends. But not major. A few months in though it started to get worse. Legs and feet blown clean off. Easy to tidy up mine, but not pretty. I've seen young men with no arms. Then we'd have to work so hard to staunch the bleeding and save the lives when all they'd be saying is, please let me die, please. Can you imagine living with no arms? How would you make a brew? I don't know about you, but I quite fancy having an husband with arms. I know exactly. Oh, do you remember that lad that came in and you could see his intestines? Oh, that was something I'd never seen before. The lads who brought him in said he'd only been shot. Oh, he looked like he'd laid down on a mine. And we had to help him with his toileting. Which, isn't the easiest thing to do in a war zone with limited medical apparatus and filthy conditions. Rats, lice, and feces everywhere. And the mud! The mud was the floor. In our makeshift tent hospitals, there were no flooring, just mud. We tried to be hygienic, but in canvas tents with air heavy with a stench of blood and the thick walls saturated with sweat. In most cases, it was impossible.
Some men often left worse off than before.
A flesh wound turns into a serious infection, which is mostly debilitating. And the lucky sort gets sent home.
A year we were serving out there together,
Without seeing even one of them frogs.
cleaning shit off those unfortunate buggers every day.
Factory line.
Cut, clean, stitch. Cut, clean, stitch. Cut, clean, stitch. It's monotonous. Hours of the same job, wondering.
How many more were there? Would the flow of the wind eventually stop?
Would it just keep going?
Night and day filled with the almost dead.
It's probably why we didn't see any of them men.
Just the doctors with us on camp.
Weren't they violent?
Complete bastards. Treat us like cattle.
Not that we could complain under the circumstances, of course.
Some of them took it too far though. Of course, they were as desperate as the next man for a cheeky fumble.
Grip of the thigh, fingers going a wandering. Of course, they were the only ones able enough to do it.
Mabel,
Evelyn.
do you remember how we met?
Of course I do.
Well, at least you'll never forget me.
Never. Nor him.
I was having me 15 minutes before my next shift.
I saw Private Thompson.
Who I'd been attending to earlier. Primary syphilis.
Peel back the curtain to where she was.
I could sense someone moving towards me, but I pretended I was asleep. Next thing, I felt a warm hand on the curve of my hip and felt it slide up to my plump right breast. I know you're not asleep, he said, whispering in my ear. I turned over to see his left hand fumbling with his belt.
Once his trousers ringed his thigh.
His red lumpy cock pointing at me, rigid and ready for the first stab.
Ripped open her legs at the knees, ripped down her stockings, and reached round for a bucket.
Fingers digging in.
And rammed into her.
Pounding inside me with his dirty, infected rod. Over and over and over and over. Then it stopped. He'd collapsed before he finished.
Basically, I knew something was wrong from when she was treating him with his slimy smirks and his set mad eyes. So when I heard the first shriek...
She'd only gone and grabbed the iron and gone round the head with it.
Get your filthy hands off her!
I pulled up my knickers and ran my fingers through my hair.
She stared at him, sprawled on the floor, his knob hanging out like a flaky, flaccid, futile worm.
Well, you're not one to beat around the bush, are you?
I'm not discreet. I hate the way the men are around here. It's like this war turned them into animals, always giving you such grimy looks, wanting a piece, and you just want to scream in their faces.
Fuck off, you slimy pricks!
Of course you couldn't, because that would be disrespectful.
So you just had to deal with it.
No, it didn't work.
So the only way to get by was to keep working. And if they didn't stop, you let it happen and then moved on.
Bastards.
The first thing that hit when we arrived was the hot, putrid stench.
Like a full-on slap in the face.
There were no colours,
Just grey. Grey washed out faces.
grey sky.
Grey mud.
Seemed to be the only colour was the sudden shock of blood of the next wounded soldier to walk by.
Kind of ironic if you think about it. The only life was, well, death.
And the well and living of us were only living a half-life surrounded by the lack of it.
You get used to seeing disembodied limbs strewn about.
Well, it's no less horrifying than the days before, but you become numb.
That same routine.
Cut, clean, stitch.
The uniformity of every day started to blur at the edges. Nothing ever changing.
Stitch.
Our uniforms, dullage of the same greenish grey that the men would try to fix.
Cut,
We
clean,
became the background.
cut, clean, stitch.
And then we found him.
Hand me that block. We don't remember how we got there. We don't even know where we are. I tell you what though, my skull still feels like it's been parted from my brain. 27 days. 27 fucking days. Still, better than it was. The first week was hell.
The Japs had got it into their heads that we,
fine British soldiers,
were filled to the brim with tactics, plans and other secret information that would be of use to them as they went about their business of blowing us all to hell.
Unfortunately, we knew the sum total of fuck all, which is apparently an excuse they'd heard before. So, whilst we baked in that concrete cell, they came in, grabbed Den, put a bag over his head and dragged him out the door.
It was total darkness. I couldn't see nothing. But I could taste the blood and terror of the bag's previous occupants.
They forced him down to his knees and strung him up like a side of beef in the butcher's. They left him like that for 3 days. The only human contact being when they would come in and use him as a punching bag just to make sure he was still alive.
It was uncomfortable to say the least. I don't know if you've ever tried pissing upside down, but it's very hard to avoid it trickling over your own face. But after that many days without water, more a blessing than a curse.
After they'd finished beating him, black and black, they slung him outside with the rest of us.
They didn't show me the ropes.
Whilst this mug had been otherwise engaged, I'd been chained up, like a nigger, and made to work on their railroads. Swing, smash, heave! Swing, smash, heave! Swing, smash, heave! On the days they thought we were slacking,
they shrieked nonsensical orders at us. Of course, we didn't know what the fuck they were on about, so for us, it was more like a shit game of charades. A game you didn't want to lose.
And when their commands did fall upon ignorant ears, they fired a single shot into the air and slowly sharpened the edge of their blades. Get down then, quick!
Why? What's happening?
Get down and pray to the Father, the Son, and the Holy fucking God that they don't pick you!
Where are they, Des? I can't see them.
Don't know, then just keep quiet.
We lay there in the mud, waiting for them to commit an atrocity on us.
But it didn't come. Instead, there was just a soft thud. Alright then, that's it. Get up, get to work and don't look.
You know when someone tells you not to look, you can't help but give a glance. As my eyes scanned the floor, they saw what they did not expect. The sword had made it through his neck. He was left, gurgling like a kettle on the boil, bubbles of blood leaking forth as he tried in vain to fill his lungs.
All he could do was watch. As they sliced and splintered his bone across the jungle floor.
They didn't even bury the body. They just left him there as an example to the rest of us.
And so we plundered on, and prayed that Her Majesty's government would find it in their hearts to find us, and lead us home safe to the glory we deserve.
We were on the evening trench shift.
Which meant dodging all sorts of shrapnel,
Bullets!
and assorted body parts.
Deciding which sorry bastards were worth bringing back.
Dead. Dead.
Dead.
Basically dead.
Dead. Then we caught sight of a whole one. Usually if they weren't missing anything, they stood a better chance.
We could just make him out from under the caved-in trench wall.
So we cleared the sandbags.
Well, it was blindingly obvious what were wrong with him.
His leg was so twisted, it was back to the front.
And his guts were inching their way to freedom from the fucking great hole in his side.
He'd obviously been there a while because the bruises had started to spread.
We began work on him. We'd have to clean him up a little before taking him back.
Easier said than done.
His leg felt like a limp fish as I rammed it home into its socket with a sharp.
As the femur located itself, the jolt had caused his guts to trickle out a little further.
Piecing back the organs inside his torso like some sort of meat jigsaw.
And the turgid filth wasn't easy to scrape off him, or our instruments.
We hauled him back onto the stretcher. And marched him back to camp, whizzing in and out like ferrets to avoid ending up in his position.
Back at the tent, we began to remove his shirt, which had fused to a gash in his back. I ripped it away, exposing the raw strands of muscle beneath.
I removed most of the cack before taking it to the wash pile. Believe me, it's not a nice day when you're on wash duty and you find a clump of skin at the bottom of the plug hole. But as I did, I saw the enemy's crest on the breast of the shirt. Fuck me!
I was unawares to Eve's revelation when she came bursting through the door with a pistol pointing at her patient's head.
I looked down at him with a fast breath and shaking hand, thinking this little shite has put our boys through hell.
What the bloody hell do you think you're doing?
Scumbag is a fucking Jerry, mate. It's a fucking Jerry.
I panicked. I knew I should want him to die. I knew I should want revenge for him and his godforsaken comrades bombing the shite out of us and our country. But he had such a nice face. So innocent and handsome. Someone you could bring home to your mum.
Bring him outside. I don't need any more brains to clean off these walls.
No, I won't. He only looks about my age. He can't know what he's doing.
I was ready to weave him out the door and put a bullet through his skull.
Her eyes were crazy.
I'm going to do it, Mabel. Get out of the way. Don't make this harder than it is.
I didn't move a muscle.
Mabel!
She eventually lowered the gun, her eyes now fixed on me. It's not up to us to play God, and the war's petering out anyhow.
Fine. I'm reporting him. At least that way the bastard's blood won't be on our hands.
I thought they'd be fair. I thought they'd give him a trial.
It was a matter of seconds before a horde of higher-ups stormed towards us.
I latched onto his arm out of instinct.
Several doctors and soldiers grabbed him and wrecked him out of the tent, nearly taking Mabel with them.
Everything was silent.
The order had been given for his execution.
And then it was over.
We were shipped back home.
No, celebrations were tremendous. And the men were quite happy to have some company for the first time in years. If you get my drift.
Oh, I don't think I walked right for a week.
It wasn't long till we realised we were out of a job.
After all the effort we made, after all the work we did, and after all the shit that we put up with.
Didn't matter that we'd been better. Didn't matter that we'd helped them out when they needed it most. All that mattered was whether or not you had a knob.
And if you had one, you had first pick.
So now I'm back in my old dressmaker's assistant job.
And I'm a housewife to a man who expects me to do all the work and who pays me no attention unless he wants to sling one up me.
Back in that same old routine.
Cut, clean, stitch. Cut, clean, stitch.
Quick, slash, stitch. Quick,
Clean, stitch.
cut, smash, stitch.